Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Gwyn, and the Insider crew.
Hey, here we are, episode 26, and we're still recovering from Monterey.
I'm recovered.
You're recovered?
Yeah.
I'm still backlogged. How about you, Damon?
Well, I got back into Baltimore at about 2 a.m. last night after picking up a brand new Miata with my girlfriend.
Oh, that's right. You had that road trip.
Yeah, so I'm kind of tired, but no more Monterey tiredness.
All right, so we're back at National Office. I'm here with Manny, our technical director, Rob Sass, Porsche Panorama editor. He's online here with us. And of course, Damon, digital media coordinator, and Robert Forsyth behind the scenes, making everything work. I wanted to thank a few folks that left some comments on YouTube. Sam, Gurney Eagle 500, Alan Hall, and I want to especially thank Ron Bauer for his opinion on In-N-Out fries. We were right.
Yes.
You guys have a bad taste.
No one else was in favor of In-N-Out fries except Damon.
Yeah, they just don't like fresh fries.
The guy with the 30-inch
Pretty
waist
much it.
is trying to be an expert on food.
So there was also a few other comments from I think it's Elevation 911 and Timothy Arrington and another gentleman, I think BR Lau. They were talking about sort of the YouTube I guess opinion of Monterey Car Week, and I thought it was interesting because it seemed like they were saying YouTube was sort of bashing Monterey Car Week or saying negative things about it.
You got to remember these. A lot of people put videos on YouTube are looking for views, so they're going to put outlandish titles. And I saw one that said Monterey police hate car people, and it was some guy doing a really douchey thing, getting pulled over.
Yeah, I mean,
Monterey police hate obnoxious car people.
Yeah, if you're doing stupid things and speeding, then you should get pulled over. But how many years have we gone to Monterey Car Week? And I tell you what, it is a bucket list event for any car enthusiast. And if you're not doing dumb things, then there's nothing to be worried about. The town of Monterey. Yes, it is. One thing is it can be expensive. Finding a place to stay, especially if you want to stay nearby, it can be expensive. But other than that, it's an amazing week.
Yeah, the normally $90 a night Roadway Inn on Munross Street is like $350 a night, but that's Monterey.
Yeah, but you have options. If you want a lesser expensive experience, you can stay further out and say, where did we say? We stayed in Aptos, which was about
too far away.
Santa Cruz County.
It was far. It was a nice location, but it was far. We've stayed in Salinas, right? Salinas is not
It's
too
usually
far.
where we stay at, because that's only like 10 minutes in. We're in
they have
Monterey.
Standard Hampton Inns and stuff. But if you haven't gone to Monterey Car Week, you definitely need to do it at least once.
Manny, Salinas is not 10 minutes from downtown
If
Monterey.
that's 10 minutes. It gets us to our location.
I think I'm rubbing off on you.
Yeah, our location was not in downtown Monterey.
So I've been known to underestimate how far things are. And I would say Salinas is about 20 minutes at least from downtown.
That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Aptos is far
Anyways,
away.
there are options to be able to do it many ways. Keep it as a budget, or you could go 5-star and stay right downtown.
Where we stayed at this time, I fell asleep twice. Woke up and we still weren't there.
Yeah, my co-pilot. So what did we do since our last call? You first, Manny.
I went to Hunt Valley Cars and Coffee, which was it's amazing how many cars there are in the Baltimore, Maryland area, because you had your big event. And Hunt Valley Cars and Coffee was packed as well.
Yeah, shout out to Will, who's been doing this. How long has he been doing Hunt Valley?
It's over 10 years.
Yeah,
Got to be.
It's always it's the bar. It's amazing amount of cars. You're talking about 400, 500 cars at least every weekend.
And there's always a jerk that decides to do a burnout. Like bunch of car guys that have never seen a burnout before.
Right. Or rev their engine, for absolutely no reason. Like, I understand if you have a lightweight flywheel and you need to kind of rev things to keep things going, but if you don't need to,
No, this isn't a lightweight flywheel. This is a...
I have a lightweight flywheel.
But your car doesn't even need it. Yeah.
So the next day, on Sunday, we had my region's crab feast. So obviously Baltimore is known for its crabs. So you can always tell the Marylanders in the group because they're eating the crabs, and the non-Marylanders are eating the shrimp or the hamburgers or hot dogs.
All right, so here's where we're going to have a little food discussion. I know you guys tuned in to listen to Porsche stuff, but I will say, even though I'm a Marylander, I go for the steamed shrimp because your level of
But you're not a Marylander.
Level of effort to reward ratio is much better with those gigantic steamed shrimp that they usually get.
But you're not a Marylander.
Oh, how dare you?
You were born in Texas.
Yeah.
And then from there, where did you go?
All over the place. But I've been here since 1987, so I consider myself a Marylander.
Last time I ate a crab, I bled, so I haven't done that again.
Was it alive or was it dead?
No, it just, that they've got their little spines or pricks, and it pricked my thumb when I was trying to open it up. So crab cakes for me.
That's why you see Marylanders eating crabs and out-of-staters eating the shrimp.
And also at the crab feast, they assign you based on your last name to bring a side, and that table alone could fill you up. All the amazing side dishes that they bring.
So we always do Bob Gutierrez and I, we started doing this over 15 years ago, a not-so-serious car show. So if your car's parked in the lot, you're going to be judged.
Whether or not you want to be judged.
It's nothing like a concourse. We just look for funny stuff on a car or whatever. But there was somebody who had 12 grill badges on a Boxster.
Wow.
A Boxster does not have a grill.
So where did they put them all? Like on behind the headrest?
He manufactured this plexiglass that he put like 4 on the license plate. He had some on the headrest. The headrest was funny because it had the studs were still.
Oh no!
It looked like an Iron Maiden. If he were to move a seat back, it would go right through. He had some on the front. As far as creativity to where to put him, he gets an A+. We gave him the I forgot what it was called. Like one girl badge is enough award. This other one, a guy was backing into the spot and he wouldn't listen to his wife. And he left it caddy wampus. Yeah. We gave him the, I should have listened to my wife when I was parking award.
That's awesome.
And on it went. It was just funny, tongue in cheek. But you got a nice, prize for, putting us up with us making fun of your car.
I remember when my grandma used to say caddy wampus. That's a word I haven't heard in a long time.
I'm not sure what it means, but that's what Bob Gutierrez called it. So that's stuck in my head.
Caddy wampus. How about you, Rob?
Not a hell of a lot. Just trying to diagnose AC problem on my 996. Gauge shows that it's full. The compressor is cycling on, but it is kind of cool, not cold. So I got to get further into that.
Huh. Yeah, usually 996 air conditioning it's
freezing.
Like it's freezing cold. It's like a Japanese Denso system.
Right. Yeah.
I'm sure it's something easy.
I hope so.
And so you went and picked up the Miata.
Yeah, so my girlfriend put in an order for a brand new 2022 Miata Club, which is the model that has the limited slip, the Bilstein shocks, and special trim that makes the car look a little bit better, or aero maybe. And we picked it up in Jacksonville, so we stayed at the Aloft, which is the hotel we
so you
stay
flew
at
down.
Works. We flew down, drove back up.
Nice.
So I got to drive that for probably 300-400 miles.
So is it a Cayman killer? It's a Downey Lake Cayman killer?
For one, it's totally stock, and the Miatas I'm running against are lowered, and they have the same mods that I do on my Cayman. But I can tell that the Miata, it's about as fast. It doesn't feel as torquey. But third gear at about 6,500 RPM is like 71, 72 miles an hour. And I reach 70 in second gear in my car. So the balance, between gearing and power to weight, I can see why they beat me, and they're so light.
Yeah.
Not to mention the drivers as well. But love the car. It feels a lot like a Porsche in how it feels. It's very fluid, easy to drive, stable, light on its feet, great brake pedal. Yeah, I can see why they're quick.
Nice. No, Miatas are amazing cars, fun cars, good, a lot of car for the money. But to kind of transition into what I did this weekend, you were talking about how at every car show there's this one person or maybe two people that rev their cars. And of course, you don't need to. You're not going to impress us, but we had this one Miata that we actually walked up to him and said, "Hey, if you don't mind, just keep, we don't need to, just, keep your exhaust down."
He had
right?
the aftermarket exhaust, right?
Yeah, of course, he had aftermarket. So we told him, right? And he moved 10 feet and started to do the same thing. So we called him out on it on social media. Don't come back.
I guess, and we have someone in our office with an exhaust like this, where they must think that it sounds really great, but the rest of the world thinks it sounds like crap.
It does sound good. It's just loud.
No, it does not sound good.
I like it. We're talking about Connor's M2.
Connor's
right?
exhaust?
Yes.
Yeah, no.
No.
That does not sound like a refined exhaust.
Simply
It's
disconnecting
loud.
your exhaust doesn't make it sound good.
I hope I'm not hurting your feelings, Connor, but his is
Oh,
what,
he
an
knows.
M2 competition?
No, not competition.
It was an
He
M2.
wishes it was a competition.
Yeah, with the uncorked exhaust. It's just loud. Anyway, so I as Manny mentioned, I was at Mike EML's Cruise In, probably the largest show they've had to date. We had a Bugatti Veyron, which was pretty cool, and a whole host of other cars. But my real car thing that I did was, so I drove my little 89 Suzuki Carry to the show. And after I park it, I notice dripping of fuel, which is never a good thing. And for those of you that own older cars, you always take a look around your car after you park it just to see if there's anything dripping. In this case, it was a fuel line. And what's great about these older cars is it was just a small leak, but I could tell when I started it, it took a little bit longer to start because maybe it got some air in the fuel lines. But got it home and then just went to the hardware store and bought a foot worth of fuel line and pulled off the old one, put on the new one, fired it up, and good to go. It's nice when you can spend, I think, $3.60 and repair your vehicle.
You buy it at the hardware store or
At the hardware store.
and they have
fuel lines.
it's fuel grade.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So we have a mom and pops. It's called Kendall Hardware down the street, truly down the street.
Nothing's down the street from your house. I've been to your house.
It is down the street, but they have,
Down the interstate.
I mean,
Down the street after you get to the main stretch.
yeah. So this is Kendall Hardware, and it's a mom and pop hardware store that has everything that you need, and they're so nice, so knowledgeable. They have this whole row of just fasteners, and you can get metric, and I love mom and pop hardware stores. Hopefully you guys have one around you, because when I go to the big box stores what was it, Lowe's and Home Depot, I just get lost and there's no one to help. And then you pull the bins and half of them are empty. The local hardware store has everything. They don't have big stuff because I'm sure they don't want to carry all the big inventory cost stuff, but things that I need, like fuel line and fasteners and stuff like that. They're cool. Anyways, all right, let's see. Oh, do we want to talk about the cool car? We recently did a video over at Speed Motorsports.
Yeah, 914 6 GT, 1970.
I didn't realize how very different that car is from a 914-6.
It was amazing to see, and when we get the video out, you'll see how much Porsche tried to lower the weight in this car, using balsa wood on the front and rear trunks, where there would be metal. It was, the 914 in itself is a light car. It's around, let's say 2,100 pounds, a 4-cylinder. And if you get the early ones, they didn't have the side door bar protection. So that was always a desirable door to get if you were trying to make a lightweight car. But But yeah, they basically went racing with the 914 as soon as it was built. They
Right,
built the
'cause-
car knowing that they would race. So in 1970, when the car came out, Porsche went to Le Mans. They went to the Nürburgring, and they did very well with this mid-engine 914.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Do I remember Bob saying it's a 2-liter flat
Yep,
six?
it was so it came with a flat. Well, the 914.6 came with a 911T, 110 horsepower flat six. The 914.6 GT still 2-liter, but it had 908 parts, and was
like 100 more horsepower or something.
yeah, almost double the horsepower.
It's like Carrera RS 2.7 power, but with a lot less displacement.
Yep.
Yeah, and every corner of that car, you could tell it has race intentions. It was very funny to see with regards to the headlights, how if you have a 914, when you open the frunk, you always see the big headlight motors there. And for weight savings on this car, it didn't have the headlight motors, and it just really had a pull cable to unlatch. What do you call it?
Little actuator the size of a double battery.
Pneumatic actuators, right? Just like you have on the back of a hatch. So when you close it, it kind of compressed it, and when you pulled the cable, the pneumatic ram or whatever, it just popped it up. And then to close it, the only way to close it is actually push it by hand. Very manual.
So at the pit stop,
Yeah.
when you're changing tires or something.
I guess. But I mean, everything about it was for racing. And as Manny said, they were using that platform or preparing that platform at the same time they're getting ready to unveil the street version. So
I found it interesting that it was Fuchs up front, but then they used
Mini lights.
Mini lights
Mini
in the
lights in
rear.
the back.
Yeah, because they didn't have the right size, I guess, back then.
They weren't making the wider Fuchs at the time.
Very cool. All right, so I know we have a lot to catch up on with regards to the Monterey auctions, but let's do the 2 news pieces before we go into the auctions.
Okay.
How's that? All right, so who wants to talk about, I mean, we've been talking about IPO for the past couple of episodes, and it's like a drama series that keeps on going.
It's up to 80-some million now. It had a much lower number initially that they thought Porsche was worth. But now they're saying that it may turn out that Porsche is worth more than all of Volkswagen,
Yeah.
which I can't imagine this is a good thing for the family, because the family's going to want to buy a lot of shares.
Right.
And, of course, this makes it more expensive to buy a lot of shares as the valuation is that high. But they're going along with it. You know, there's no indication they're going to hold this up. And I think it's the fourth quarter when this would occur. So
I mean, if being in the news helps with your preparations for an IPO, dropping something like the GT3 RS, man, I'm sure that did good things for it.
Yeah. But then now there's also Formula One, right? Where throws a nut or a wrench in the spokes a little bit.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about that. So it's not a done deal with Red Bull.
no, not as far as the engine supplying.
Yeah.
Now you have Audi, who announced, Sauber announced that they will end their partnership with Alfa Romeo right around the time that Audi would come in, and that would be, basically Sauber becomes Audi, and it's an Audi power plant. That's what's really interesting is that Porsche is going to build their own power plant, and now they're saying they're not even going to share the technology.
Well, Red Bull for a long time, I think it was a year or 2 ago, announced that they were going to make their own engines or power units, and they've already hired hundreds of engineers and people to work on it. Going to be hiring more. So where does Porsche fit in?
So when does it become a
good.
Porsche engine?
Yeah, it would just be a sticker on the
I
cam
can't
covers or
imagine
something.
Porsche would do that.
Yeah.
At the engineering company, that's what they are, is an engineering company.
Yeah.
To stick, like Damon said, stick their name on the valve cover, but it's not their designed engine.
Yeah, I don't see that either.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
That's going to be crazy to see Audi in F1. I mean, that's the first time since the 1930s, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure, but they're out of endurance racing because of F1.
Yeah, they
now,
announced
too.
Yeah.
pulling out of LMDH.
They're all in.
Yeah, I think you're right, Rob.
Yeah, no, I think it is.
We'd
It's
had a
Auto
30s
Union.
ended up with Audi in Germany.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Auto Union then, but yeah, I think it was the 1930s. That's kind of cool.
All right, so we've got a list of cars to take a look at from our predictions earlier, but maybe Rob, just kind of share with us what your thoughts, the market and such after hanging out in Monterey for a week.
Well, overall, I mean, it was pretty crazy. It was almost $470 million. There are at least 5 or 6 countries with GDPs smaller than that. So that's a lot of money changing hands for cars.
For the week?
It is, yeah. It's a record by, probably $60 million, something like that. So,
whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. There were about 102 Porsches on offer total. 78 of those sold, so the sell-through rate for Porsche was about 76%, which is pretty good. One of the key takeaways from it, though, is that the Porsche market is not a monolith. There were hot spots, there were cooler spots. By and large, the ultra high net worth people seem to step up, and there was a lot of interest in the higher priced lots. 33 out of those 78 cars sold for within their pre-sale estimate, so 43% sold for within the estimated range. 28 out of 78 exceeded the estimated range, about 36%, and only 17 out of the 78 sold for below the pre-sale estimates, so that's 21%. But the more that you dig down, the more that, that there looks like there might be, some cracks or some softening in the market. 24 of those 33 cars that sold for within estimate, 72% of them sold at the low end of the pre-sale estimate. Only 9 out of the 33, or 28%, sold at the high end of the estimate. 64% of the cars fell into the categories of either below estimate, the low end of the estimate, or no sale. So, the more you dig, the more interesting it gets. But overall, a lot of money changed hands. The pricier cars did pretty well. We saw Carrera GTs and 918 Spyders sell really well. Later model cars, by and large, seemed to do better. 356s and early 911 prices seemed pretty stable. And in fact, there were 2 pre-A 356s that were no sales. So not as much interest in those cars this time around. Speedsters continue to be a bright spot in 356s. Nice speedsters do well. A couple of them sold for well above their pre-sale estimates. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. It wasn't the big crash that some people were thinking was going to happen. By and large, I think the high net worth people look at collectible cars as pretty good hedges against inflation. So they didn't seem to have any problem buying last week in Monterey.
So you mentioned there's a certain percentage of cars that sold at the low end of the estimate. Even at the low end of the estimate, is it because the estimate was high, or the prices that at the low estimate was still more than previous years?
Well, I think that you can make the argument that because of the state of the market right now, the pre-sale estimates were a little bit ambitious.
Yeah.
It's hard to say with a market that changes on a daily basis. It must be really difficult. I mean, they set those estimates, when the catalogs were printed about a month ago. So, but yeah, some of it could be chalked off to that.
Yeah. So were there any particular Porsches to you that were, 1, a shocker, and then 2, like an amazing buy?
Well, we should probably get to the list, but as far as amazing buys go, the cheapest car of the sale was at Mecum. It was I believe it was a 92 968 cab with a 6-speed in pretty nice colors, cobalt blue and tan. Overall, not a bad looking car. I think it had Cup 2s on it. Sold for $12,000.
What?
So
that's a great deal.
That was a screaming deal.
Was that a 6-speed or a Tiptronic?
No, it was a 6-speed.
Wow.
That's a smoking deal.
That would have been a smoking deal for a tip.
How did you not buy it?
I suspect it went for for $12,000 because, in addition to myself, a lot of other people probably weren't there. It might have been an early car or a late in the
Someone
afternoon
scored.
car.
That's why,
I don't know. But yeah, somebody got a great deal on that.
I love watching Meekum. What was their first day? Thursday or Friday? Auction.
Thursday, I believe.
Yeah, so Thursday, obviously, they start with the less expensive cars. And when I watch it on TV, I like watching that day because that's the cars I can afford. And not just Porsche, but all the other makes. You're like, I might have bid on that one because it's a pretty good price.
Wow.
So that's encouraging that there's still affordable Porsches. Not everything is a high 5-figure or low 6-figure car.
Wow, that's
Well,
pretty
I
cool.
mean, let's face it, though. I mean, the number of Porsches I can tell you, I can pull it up. I can tell you exactly how many cars sold for under 50. It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars the whole week sold for under $50,000. So that is not exactly a bounty of cheap Porsches.
So curious, I notice you're looking at a screen. Is that some sort of official report you get from someone? Is that something you tallied up yourself?
No, that was actually our friends at Haggerty were kind enough to share a giant Excel sheet of all the Porsche sales. So
that's pretty
that's
cool.
what I was looking at, yeah.
Wow. All right. So I know probably the one that wowed you is probably on the list that we're going to review. So do you want to just go down the list of
Let's
the cars?
just jump into the list, yeah.
So let's, the first one is the 997 Carrera from Gooding.
Right.
Ooh, that is a beautiful car.
It is a very pretty car. I mean, we talked about this earlier. PTS 997s are pretty rare. This was a painted sample. Mexico blue.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you because I do remember, like, we say 997 and we understand what that, and I believe one of our listeners before said, could you just be a little bit more specific because they may not know what 997 is. So exactly what year 911 this is.
This was a 2008.
2008
So,
911 with the Aero kit.
Right. So it's the first generation, last year, the first generation of the 997 with a factory Aero kit, which is also, just, I don't have the production numbers in front of me, but just anecdotally speaking, Aero kit 997 seem to be a lot more rare than Aero kit 996s.
I agree with that. You see the Taco Wing 996 Aero kits a lot. But it's really rare to see one of these. In fact, I would look at this, and my first thought is GT3.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So there's the look of that, except, the lobster fork wheels, obviously. But it was an S, it had 33,000 miles on it. If this car didn't have the Aero kit and didn't have the very pretty paint to sample Mexico blue paint, I don't know. I mean, this might be a $50,000 car, 55, something like that.
And what did it hammer at?
I think with the buyer's premium, it sold for $140,000.
Oh my goodness! Wow! Color and Aero kit,
right?
And
nice sports
options.
seats. Yeah, it's nicely optioned.
This is the last year of the IMS, if you will,
right?
Problem cars.
Yeah.
Even though it was a 1% failure rate at this point. It's
right,
still,
but I mean, bore scoring is also a concern with the S cars too. So. It's not a .2 car. This was a lot of money. It's got a ton of eyeball, but this is money that still might buy a 2007 GT3.
But Mexico blue though. I mean, that just.
I just said this is GT3 money, and Vu's like, but Mexico blue. You're like a moth in a
Mexico blue does that
bug
to you.
light.
It doesn't matter what car it's on. It's just wow.
I'll take a GT3.
Yeah, it's
I'll take a GT3 in brown. I don't care.
You're not too far off of a new GT3 without markup at that price either.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was formerly the property of a very famous 993 collector, and I'm sure he also had a Riviera Blue 993. But the other thing is too, with 997s, and we've talked about this before, going forward. These are probably going to be viewed as the 993s of the water-cooled cars. They're very pretty. The size is right. Particularly with the .2 cars, they didn't make that many of them because they came out at the beginning of the Great Recession. So, these could be, pretty sought-after cars down the road. But still, 140 seems like all the money for this in 2022.
Wow. All right. Next up, we have a 1989 911 Carrera Clubsport in a very unique color. And how did it do?
It sold for just about in the middle of its pre-sale estimate. I think it was $467,000 with the with the buyer's premium,
Wait,
and it
how
had a
much?
pre-sale
How much?
estimate $467, wasn't it?
$467,000.
Yeah, the pre-sale estimate was between 400 and 500, so it kind of went down the middle. Yeah,
Man.
we talked about this car a little bit, I think, before the podcast last week. It's a rest of the world car. You can see it's got the side reflector on it. Most of these cars tended to be white or black, right, Manny?
Correct.
This one is paint to sample, Lindgrün, kind of a light metallic green, which makes it very unique. But still, this is a lot of money for a car that the average person is going to mistake for, just another G-Body 911.
So I'm guessing because of how rare and what it is, it's probably a solid buy in terms of an investment. But anyone here, if you had that amount of money, would you be buying that car or would you be buying something else?
Something
I'd
else.
be buying several something else.
Several something else, right?
Yeah.
But we play in a different world than
Right.
the person that's buying this car.
This
Right,
is a
and if you've
collector.
just got to complete the set of rare and interesting G-Body cars, this is it.
Oh, so it does have the stripes.
It does. It has the decal on the
we-
fender, yeah.
Yeah. Because we didn't see that last time.
Yep.
Oh, man.
But this was it. There was no RS.
Yeah.
It was a turbo. So this was the sportier, like Rob said, G body.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if I owned, an MFI Carrera, a 3-liter Carrera, an early turbo or something, I'd probably want this car to complete the set, right?
Yeah, I mean, to the casual viewer, non-enthusiast, they wouldn't
Seats
see
are
how
cool.
special. But if you look at the details of this car and you are an enthusiast, you start picking it out and you go, oh yeah, this car is quite special.
Yeah, it is. I mean, the seats are cool. They almost kind of look a little bit like, a similar pattern to an 88 944 Turbo S,
Or even a
silver rose.
959.
Yeah, look,
Yeah.
the bolsters.
Yeah, so those are pretty cool. I mean, it's unique. It's really cool. I might have knocked the corrosion off the fan housing. I'm just
Yeah.
not that I'm going to be picky, but yeah. So that car did well.
So a car that I know locally we talked a lot about was this 1995 928 that RM Sotheby's that
Right.
just blew the roof off of the house, and I knew it would do well. It's a gorgeous car, beautiful color. Looks to be a super clean example, but the price that it brought, I would have never guessed that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the high end of the pre-sale estimate on this car was $275,000, and I think the all-in price of it was $406,000.
That's
Wow.
insane.
If
That
you
is
knock
insane.
out the risky business 928, which sold for what it sold for because of the movie Provenance,
Yeah.
I think this is a world record for 928s.
So I
it was
think-
just a stunning sale.
928 owners worldwide are probably cheering. And
Even though it doesn't make their cars worth anymore.
But I can guarantee you there's so many of them that print out this article with the price and share it with their family and go, you see what I have? And look at this car. Yeah, it's a little bit nicer, but
Had I known this was going to go for this much, I would have spent more time looking at it. Because I looked at it briefly, and they had it outside in the courtyard at RM. But it wasn't like a Concours car. The bolsters had some wear. To me, it looked like a very nice driver, but not museum quality.
Right. I mean, it had 16,000 miles on it, so it doesn't fall into the category of freakishly low miles, like it was, 1,500 or something like
Exactly.
that. So, the car has seen some use, but the fact is, according to the catalog, there are only 26 manual transmission GTSs from 95, which was the last year of production. So, I guess the market just perceived this to be one of the best ones still available. And
or just between two people.
two people who, who had to have it. But it's might be one of the more stunning results of the entire week. There are a lot of cars that sold for a lot more money, but the expectation was they're going to sell for a lot more money. This car that that did over 200,000 more than the low end of the pre-sale estimate was just pretty stunning.
What gets me is that people are buying these cars because it has a manual transmission, it's so rare, but are they actually going to drive it and experience that manual transmission?
I had this very same conversation this weekend where someone was talking about a Cayenne GTS, and they were like, man, I really want a manual Cayenne GTS. And I'm like, have you driven a manual Cayenne GTS? And do you really want to spend $25,000 more over
to have the world's shortest first gear?
Yeah. And he kind of looked at me funny. I'm not knocking it, and I think they are kind of cool, but to me, it's a $25,000 novelty.
Yeah, because whoever bought that 928 could probably just buy an automatic, have the same car looks-wise, and he would never know the difference because is he going to drive it?
There's
Probably
a reason
not
why
much.
only 6 were made, because majority of customers want it automatic.
It was a touring car. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys
Crazy
are trying to apply logic. Honestly,
it's an emotional purchase. Yeah.
Right. You could still buy a 65,000 mile 928 GTS with an automatic for probably $70,000 right now. But it's apples and oranges. Two people in the room had to have one of the 26 manual 95 GTSs.
A buyer
walked
wants
away with it.
what a buyer wants.
Right.
So let's move on to the next car, which I think we all agreed was, as Manny put, GOAT, greatest of all time. This 2011 911 GT3 4-liter. That was a stunning car.
Right. This is a case where I thought the pre-sale estimate was pretty light. I think it was like 625 to 650 or something, something in that range. It was in the 600s. Mm-hmm. And the car sold all in for $885,000. Wow. And, the crazy thing is, at that price, I think the car was really well bought. These are absolutely destined to be $1 million cars one day. And I suspect that, that day is closer than any of us think. Most of these cars, from what I understand, were either black with silver or white with silver.
Yeah.
The vast majority of them. There were a few PTS cars made. I know that I think one of the online auctions or one of the auction houses sold a PTS orange 4-liter GT3 RS, probably about 3 or 4 years ago for $650 or $670 or something like that. My guess is that car may well be $1 million car today. I think the difference, in standard color and PTS, might just put one of these over the $1 million mark, all things being equal. This car had something like 1,700 miles on it. So it did fall into the freakishly low miles category. But, these are absolute blue chip cars. Anyone who buys any one of these in the $600,000 to $800,000 range right now is going to be very happy.
Yeah, so this car, our friend Jack, and I'll leave his last name out just in case he doesn't want to be, but he took care of this collection, and he was saying how stunning this car was. And, I think, his responsibility is just keep the collection, moving. And so he's probably put most of the very low miles on it, but he said that car, everywhere you looked, it was just perfect.
And let's face it, it is a crying shame that this car has only clocked 1,700 miles because, everybody knows. These cars have a huge reputation because they're amazing to drive. They're visceral. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, so I don't know. Part of me hopes that this car was bought by somebody who just said, to hell with it. I'm going to treat it like a new car, and I'm going to rack up the miles, and I'm going to drive the hell out of it. No one's
going to pay 800 and some.
I know. You know it, and I know it. It's a crying
Not
shame.
Gonna happen.
It really is.
All right.
Am I the only one who feels that way? Do you guys think this car belongs behind a set of velvet ropes?
No, I feel the same way.
I feel like it should be driven, but I don't think, I mean, for what it is, and I would enjoy it, but I wouldn't track it. I mean, it's just too valuable.
If I bought it for that much money, I wouldn't drive it.
Yeah. You wouldn't even drive it if you bought it for that amount of money. Yeah. But as far as a car, it is a shame that it's not being used for what it really was designed to be. But hey, it's their money.
You know, I hate when people slam other people because they don't track their car. They don't drive their car in anger.
Yeah.
Some people love showing their car. It's like a piece of art.
Exactly.
They're transporting this piece of art from one place to the other. God bless them. I get to see the car on a nice field up close. Otherwise, I may not see a car like this. So, if you drive it on the track, the reality is, how many RSs are being driven at driver's eds?
Not many.
Well, I wasn't even suggesting that the owner should drive it on the track. Just drive it. Because, I think all of us would agree that the worst thing you can do to a car is let it sit.
Mm-hmm.
No good happens from a car sitting. And I'm afraid that's what's going to happen to this car. It's going to sit.
I'm sure he has the handler just like Jack handled it.
Yeah.
That
Jack put miles
maintains
on it.
And
Yep.
Yeah, 1,700 miles in 11 years.
Well, I mean, the airport strip is not that long, so I think he just backed it out, took it around, got to engine temperature, and then put it back in.
Yeah.
So the next one at Broad Arrow Auctions was 2019 GT3 RS Clubsport, the non-street legal car, which this is an amazing track car. How did it do?
It didn't. It was a no sale.
No sale. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
It was one of the.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised. I mean, the value of the car, and because it's a track only car, I think that's a very niche buyer.
And there's I don't think there's any series you can run this in. I mean, you can run in club racing, but I don't think people are running these in club racing. They're running cup cars.
Yeah.
I've seen them go up Pikes Peak. A couple of people have used them for that, but I think most people bought them as an investment.
Yeah.
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 It's
Did you spend time at this was Broad Arrow's first auction? Did you spend time with them? How'd they do?
They did really well. It was a really successful launch of a brand new company, but with some very, very experienced and well-known people at the helm. One of the nicest previews that I've been to. They served lunch there really wasn't a whole lot of restriction in terms of who could get in. They served lunch to everybody who showed up. It was very nice.
So was there much chatter between Haggerty's purchase of Broad Arrow and was it IGM? Did I get that right? Who bought Barry Jackson?
I think it's IMG. They're an international sports promotion events company, very well known. Yeah, they bought I think a controlling stake in Barrett Jackson on just about the same day that Haggerty bought the rest of the Broad Arrow group, and there are rumors floating around that another auction company is in the process of being fully acquired. So yeah, I think that in addition to the one percenters, sort of being bullish on the collector car market right now, the entire financial industry is bullish on it. Given the fact that there have been a lot of investments in auction companies leading up to this.
So the next car was at Bonham's, one of our favorite 996s, a 2004 911 GT3 in black.
Right. Another no sale, which was kind of surprising because, these cars are fairly hot right now. It had a pretty... what
was the reserve? Do you know?
Don't know what the reserve was, but the pre-sale estimate was 120 to 150, which is pretty strong money.
Are you saying it didn't get to 120?
It did not get to 120.
Really?
Wow.
That surprises me.
I understand the car did sell post-block, but Bonham's generally doesn't release post-block sale figures, so I don't
think that's
know.
a $120,000 car all day long.
So I've seen in the Mart in the past year, GT3 is going for less than 100, and I know it's probably not the same condition or level of car, but
You know what? The reason why? It's black.
Right. I was just going to mention that.
If
and,
it wasn't
and I
black,
did see the car.
if it was yellow, if it was, Mexico blue, if it was anything else,
Even guards red.
or guards red,
Yeah.
it just would pop more. And, to the untrained eye, this is just another 996, right?
Right. And it was a black car in need of some modest paint correction. It could have popped more. I memean, there were a lot of factors probably that went into why the car was a no sale over the block. But
I think that car at $100,000. Hopefully, whoever bought it after the no sale bought it for $100,000, and I think they got a smoking deal. I think that car.
I don't think they bought it for 100, but maybe 112 to 115, somewhere in there.
So when we did the video about buying a GT3 on Tech Tactics Live, that was that February we did that?
I don't remember.
So many videos.
Yeah. Anyways, I think the market has climbed even higher. Because back then we were talking about this should be $100,000 car.
Right.
And I think maybe what you saw in the mart, I don't think you see them anymore.
Yeah, maybe not as much.
Yeah.
I mean, you do see lower priced ones for those that have been well used at the track. I'll give it that. But like to find a pristine example for under 100 or around 100, it's pretty rare. All right. So, we were there for the Mecum one, our next car, the 73 911 Carrera RS owned by Paul Walker. Man, what a cool experience that was, Manny.
Tell us again, Vu, what you did.
You were there right beside me. Pretty much the same experience.
Some pictures you can see my forearm.
But yeah, the timing was just perfect.
There you go. You can see my arm.
There's Manny's cell phone. I think he's taking a Instagram reel or something.
My boss told me to record the whole thing.
But yeah, again, we were just hoping to catch it, go across the block, but we were invited to hammer it. And that car went for $975,000. And how do you react to that, Rob?
I think it had a pre-sale estimate of, between 900 and 1.2 million or something. I'm sorry, 1 million and 1,250,000. So
okay, yeah.
It sold for just a hair below the low end of the pre-sale estimate. So on its face, Manny and I had talked about this car offline a little bit. It's a 27 RS Touring that's been restored with some kind of, custom kind of lightweight touches. I think the wheels are probably 7s and 8s instead of 6s and 7s. It's got the fiberglass rear bumpers of a lightweight. Not sure it was born with the Pepita seats, but it was very much restored to the owner's taste. It's fine, but it's not an entirely correct 27 RS Touring. That said, without the Paul Walker provenance, I guess you might expect this car to sell for somewhere in the 6s. So, the Paul Walker connection added, another $350,000 to the result.
So this is a second series car.
Yeah.
So does the new owner is kind of forced to keep it the same because of the Paul Walker provenance, or do they correct all the incorrections and bring it back to its true touring state?
I think you leave it as is.
I would. I personally happen to like the way it's presented. I think the wheels look cool. I like the sand, finish, the RSR finish on the wheels. I think, Manny, this would have had 6s and 7s, right? As a correct
yes.
Touring. And this looks like they're even wider than 7s and 8s. What's on it right now? It looks really good. I mean,
I don't think that finish is original.
No, I don't think so
it's
either.
An RSR type finish.
Yeah. But if I were doing a fresh build, I might very well do it this way. I like light yellow. I like the wheels. I like the fiberglass rear bumpers and rear valance. I think it's a cool car. I like the seats with the Pepita inserts. I like the lack of the deco strip on the bumpers. This car works for me. I mean, it may not work for a Concours judge, but
I
friggin' love it.
I think it's gorgeous that, like you said, many of the changes that he made or had made to the car, I think it had much eye appeal. The yellow just popped as it came across the stage. And it was interesting to see, the estimates between 1 million and 1.2. And it's all kind of a blur for me, but I believe when they got to about 900, they were looking at the owner or whoever was responsible of releasing it and saying that, reserve has been lifted. Like you just feel the room, just like, just the aura around the car. And they're like, that means this car is going home with somebody. It was really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a cool car. Just give me a Momo Prototipo wheel and I'm good. I'd leave it as is.
Yeah. All right, so let's go to the next one from another one from Arm Sotheby's, a 1995 928.
Oh, we did.
Oh, we did
that one. Okay.
Yeah.
So you listed.
Yeah, I think that's all of them.
Is that all of them? Oh no,
yeah.
We have to talk about the. I'm sorry, Sally Special.
Oh yeah, and that was really special. Our good friend Jay Ward and his colleague Bob Pauley were sort of the creative talents behind this. It's obviously a new 992, but it's done up as an homage to Sally Carrera from the original Cars movie. And, the attention to detail is really cool. I mean, it goes beyond the fantastic blue and black Pepita seats, the Sally blue paint. They did these, I think they're 21-inch wheels, this modern day take on hollow spoke turbo twists. And the car and those wheels are one-offs too. I think they made a second set for the owner, but that's all. And it was fantastic looking. We all got to spend a lot of time in and around it, and absolutely beautiful car. That,
there was a lot of people
Jay and Bob put together
who commented that they were like, "How can somebody pay that much for a GTS?" And it's so overpriced. And I think they really missed the whole purpose of this car in this auction. It was for charity,
right?
Obviously,
exactly.
No one's going to pay that $3.6 million for a normal GTS. Especially a brand new one. But this was like Rob said, a one-off with Pixar Studios and Disney involved. And it was for charity. That's a big message they were trying to send out during the auction was lives will be changed with this money. You're going to make a difference in many people's lives. And I think that's why it transcended what the value of the car was.
Yeah.
Ka-chow mode. I just noticed that. I didn't see that when I was with the car. That's worth the $3.6 million in
the car very well before the auction. It was, kind of right up front. Everybody could see it. And the color, the Sally Special blue pops so much in the sunlight. It's hard to capture in photos. It's a pretty color in photos, but when you see it in person, it's almost electric.
Yeah.
It's really amazing. And the car,
it looks better in like noon sun than it does in the shade.
Absolutely.
It's one of those rare colors.
Yep. And it's got so many Easter eggs around the car. You open the hood, there's the who's who has signed this car. And as Manny said, it was for a good cause. And probably I got a little starstruck because Bonnie Hunt was there and she was standing, and I'm like, there's the creator of the project. There's the creator of the car's characters. There's a voice of Sally Carrera. Like they just had it all. And then when before they present the car, they talked about, where the money was going, for women and children.
Yeah. Refugee relief.
Refugees. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it was like they laid it out and presented it perfectly. And when the bidding passed $1 million, I think everybody in the crowd was just like, how far is this going to go? Simply
a lot
amazing.
Further, as it turns out.
Yep.
But everybody involved with it is just wonderful. I mean, we all know Jay really well, and he's just an amazing human. And Bob Pauley is longtime creative collaborator. Just a fantastic guy, and they just really did a wonderful job for some very, very wonderful charities.
Yeah, and I believe PCNA mentioned that this project was the largest social media reach for anything that they've done to this point, which is amazing.
Wow.
right?
Yeah,
So,
and also, don't we have a video, Damon, coming up with Boris Appenbrink?
Yeah, it was supposed to be done yesterday or today, but that's going to be finished up later this week. So by the time you listen to this, it will be up on our YouTube channel.
Yeah, and we should explain to listeners who Boris is. Who you probably know him the best of all of us, right?
So he's the head of exclusive manufacturer. So when you're doing PTSF or anything exclusive options, he's the gentleman that he and his team. It's almost like going to a candy factory, and if you were to build your own car and you want to wish something, colors, finishes, design, stamps. Everything you would want to customize in your car, his team has the ability to figure it out.
Yeah. And we should mention that Grant Larson actually made an appearance in the video, and his spot is actually a bit longer. So we get a very in-depth look from Porsche Exclusive's viewpoint as well as Style Porsche, which Grant Larson is the head of.
Yeah, Boris is no longer, anonymous. It used to be you could walk around with them and no one knew who he was, but it seemed like this time, anywhere we went with him, every few steps, someone would stop and talk to him. And I got a feeling that it's people who have cars on order, who want something from Exclusive, who have a question. And Boris is very generous with his time, and he'll just sit there and answer all their questions and give them his business card. But it was a lot different this time than a few years back.
So can I let our listeners in on a little secret? Boris and Grant, a lot of the folks at PAG are accessible, and it's amazing that they are. But don't go up to them and ask them about production numbers and why your local dealer is charging a market adjustment price. Like, come on. And the reason why I bring it up, because it happens so much, and I feel so sorry for them, because you should be having a much better conversation with them and getting some insight into the design and what's the future of Porsche. They don't have anything to do with production and or what your dealer charges. So save your breath on those kind of questions and comments, and ask them about design, ask them about colors and features and stuff like that. So just a little tip for the Porsche Club Insider folks.
Yeah, they've got so many stories, and you just like Boo said, start talking to them about it. You're going to hear so many stories you probably never heard of or read about. They're very open with the process of either manufacturing or design. And if you're a Porsche geek like me, that's gold.
Absolutely. So, upcoming events. We are, some of you are heading out tomorrow morning, right? Heading to Sports Guard Together Day, and I will join you first thing Thursday morning. We've got Jeff Gordon and a special, when will this be released? So this will be afterwards, right? So, we will have an hour with Jeff Gordon signing autographs in the Porschephiles that we manage. So, that'll be cool.
That's going to be wild. And I think their ticket sales increased a good
I'm
tick
sure it did.
because of the announcement that Jeff and his crew chief are coming out of retirement to run this one race. So I think a lot of NASCAR fans are coming just to see Jeff, and I'm sure the opportunity to have something signed is a lot easier at this event than the Brickyard 400.
It's always fun to see what a NASCAR driver or drivers from different disciplines do in a type of racing that they're not used to. So this will be a fun time. We all know Jeff Gordon can drive road courses, but still, it's been a while, and he's not in a NASCAR.
And almost equally as exciting, they have this race called the Ragnar race, which is a bunch of runners, and myself and Aaron Ambrosino are going to be running in it. So expect to see.
You entered it?
Entered is a strong word. I will be there in tennis shoes and shorts and running in the same direction as everyone.
Damon, we're going to have to buy a 6-pack of beer and sit up on the hill in the turn one and just laugh.
and just laugh as
Or
I
get a cup of water, fill it with beer, and then hand it to you know,
Hey, that's fine.
or hot coffee. So.
They were looking for participants, and I'm myself and Aaron will be representing PCA. How's that?
Good or bad?
Good or bad? All right. And we come back from Sports Car Together Day, and the following week we have the open house here. And some surprising news is we will have the Classic Club Coupe here. And that'll be amazing to have it. What I feel is like having it coming home, because it hasn't seen, this garage since it left as a, basic broken 996 that we had found at the dealership, and now it's going to come home, and it's
Did it
gorgeous.
ever come into the garage?
Yeah.
You got pictures of it?
Yeah.
Oh, that'd
Yeah.
be cool.
Yep. Absolutely.
So we're all going to get to take turns thrashing it on New Cut Road.
Nope. You can't even sit in it. I might not even let you sit in it. I don't want you to mess up the seats. You can stand next to it and dream.
Our National Secretary, Todd Benz, got to put probably about 3 miles on it at the golf course.
No, he didn't. He just drove it to the truck.
It's all private roads.
Yeah. He just
Like
drove
us
it to the
farting
truck
it is
to load
right
it up. And then we'll be preparing for Unstock. As we mentioned in the last podcast, we'll be at West Coast Customs headquarters in Burbank, California, November 13th. And at Mecum, we ran, I think we mentioned also in the last podcast that we ran into Chris Jacobs. He's a PCA member, huge Porsche fan. If you're not familiar with Chris Jacobs, he's the host. He does Overhauling with Chip Foose, and he's done another number of car shows. And hopefully he's going to be there. And if he attends, then maybe we'll do a Chris Jacobs favorite pick of Unstock. And he seemed to be very excited about that. But of course, he'll need to check his schedule and such. As the time that you listen to this, we have dropped the Unstock announcement video, 1 mile review of the 718 Cayman, and the podcast, the last podcast, the Monterey Adventures.
Exactly.
So you got some pretty good traction on the 718 Cayman video.
Oh, have I? It's been so busy. I haven't looked at the views in a few
He
days.
can't hide anything.
He can't hide it.
No, I can't.
wanna play
Oh,
poker
were they
with him.
looking at me?
How many views does it have?
Were they talking about me? I think it's at like 4,000. I mean, it's
Not
not
as much as yours.
It's not Manny and Vu level yet.
Oh, it's
but
past Manny level. I don't know about Vu level, but
yeah.
Well, we should mention actually the by now our next 1 mile review will be out, and it's on a 1958 356 Speedster owned by a local out here.
Mr. Bill Tate.
Yep, and he daily drove it for a long time. Bought it when it was super cheap, I believe. He's modified it a little bit, still drives it.
Drives it all the time.
All the time. And we've added a new rating, partly based on your feedback that there's something missing. So we're adding fun factor in addition to car show, daily driver, and road trip. What we found was some cars that maybe would be awesome to drive, but maybe aren't the best car show cars or daily drivers or road trippers. They're scoring a little bit lower than they probably should.
And we're not able to say what it excels in, which is it's super fun to drive.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a new rating. So going forward, there will be 4 ratings, including fun factor.
Oh, speaking of announcing of new things, Manny, you want to share your idea with the car that we did at Speed, sort of that series that we're looking into.
oh, I guess we're preparing for rents for a reunion. In fact, Melanie told me that the general admission tickets are coming up for sale in September, maybe.
September 20th.
We're going to put an announcement on our webpage. The general admission tickets, at least, will be on sale. So anyways, we talked about this in Monterey about creating a series called The Road to Rennsport and featuring race cars that you'll probably see at Rennsport or very similar to them. So the first one's going to be this 914 6GT. We talk about the history of the car, the importance, what made it different than a regular street car. And we have some other cars lined up, and maybe once a month or something along those lines, and get people better equipped who have never come to Rennsport and may not appreciate these cars. We were also talking about this with Pebble Beach. I said I need someone to walk with me around these pre-war cars because I don't really appreciate what they are because I don't know what is significant about them. But if someone could tell me this is why this car is so interesting, it really changes it. So we're planning to do the same thing with the Road to Rennsport.
All right. So with that, thanks for listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and you own a Porsche, go ahead and grab that VIN and sign up at pca.org. If you're looking for a Porsche, join our test drive program and we'll help you find one to put in your garage. Remember to follow the podcast Instagram page. See behind the scenes photos and videos. Porsche Club Insider, all one word. You can always message or email us at podcast@pca.org. Until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road.